Okay, I'm going to make a little video here about how I would use Illustrator to create icons. Um, your icons don't have to be in a circle, they just happen to be in a circle because I pulled these from Google. Um, Normally I would always make everything that I do from scratch, not referencing others' work. But when it comes to icons, um, know that copyright really doesn't apply and that a universal symbol is better than something unique and different. So it kind of goes against the trend of normal graphic design. So I just do a search for like icon, phone, and I'll find a whole bunch. And notice how they're all angled, you know. And then I'll just pick one and go, oh, okay, that's an interesting one. I copy the image. And then I'll come over to Illustrator and just drop it into place and kind of scale it until I get it to about the right size that I want. And then all the files that I copied and pasted are in layer one. I'm just going to lock that, make a new layer. Okay, so those will stay in place, and unless I want to move them around and stuff, they're not going to get in my way. Okay, so the phone icon is challenging because of these curves and because it's turned at an angle. So the first thing we're probably going to have to do is hitting Command R brings up my rulers right here. Watch that. See, it goes away, it comes back. And then with the ruler, I'm just going to add a guideline. And then I'm going to hit the letter R, R by itself. That gives me the rotate tool. I will click on this one icon that I pasted from Google. And, I'm going to alter it to make it easier to render. So, this is how I would not end up with the final icon like that because I kind of see a face in there, and the phone's hung up in some way. But it's going to make it easier for me to redraw the phone if I do that. Okay. The other thing I need to know in my little icon, and I'm going to guess here, is where the center is, because I'm going to draw one side, flip, and copy it. And that'll make this whole process a lot easier. All right, now that I've got that, I've got a couple guidelines. The icons is been turned, making it easier to draw. Now I will hit the letter L, giving myself a circle drawing tool. I will change the fill to 0 or nothing and the stroke to red. And my reasoning is I want to be able to easily see what I'm drawing. Now I'm going to click right on the line, and if I hold Option, it will pop to the center and draw from that line. So I really like that element of drawing. When you hold Option, see, it draws from the center or wherever you clicked on. So yeah, just try it out. It'll make sense. Okay, I'm going to copy that as much as possible. Okay, then I'll do this again drawing on the line, again holding Option. If you hold Shift, you'd have a perfect circle, but we don't want a perfect circle in this situation, as the phone is more like that. Okay, now you can see what I'm going for. I'm going for the handle. I'm going to hit the letter, I'm going to select both the circles, and I'm going to hit the letter D. That gives me default fill and stroke, which is white fill, black stroke. I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool now and divide. Divide tools work best when the objects are white fill, black stroke. In the end, I still want a red stroke with no fill. Okay, so I got that part. Now I'm just going to hide it. I'll hit Command 3. It's still there. I haven't deleted it. It's still there. It's just out of my way, and I don't have to mess with it right now. Now, to do this part, it looks like it would be easiest to draw a rectangle and then round the corners. So I will hit the letter M. That's my rectangle drawing tool. I will click and drag down, getting it roughly to the center points. And then I will put an effect of rounded corners on it. And let's try a preview of that. Okay, I did think that was a little much. Oh, okay. So I'm going to try 0.025. Okay, that's too little. 0.05. Okay, that looks like it. And then I'll say okay. Now, in Illustrator, if you hit Command Y, one of my favorite things to do in Illustrator, you can see just the bare bones of what you've been working with. Right now, I have a rectangle. Now, visually, it has the rounded corners, but they aren't real there. They're just rendered. They're not actual. So to make them actual, I have to go to Object and Expand Appearance. Now, if I hit Command Y, you can see that my corners are rounded, and if I clicked on them, they have little handles and stuff like that. I just think it's easier. If you apply rounded corners, they're very visually, but they're not real yet. So this is how we make them real. Okay, red on red, it's kind of hard for me to see the dots, so I'm going to change the color to blue. All right, make it easier. Notice with the white arrow, I selected 4 of the points, and that is so I can lower it. And that way, when I bring back my shape, Command Option 3, there it is, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can deal with this. I'm going to hit the letter C now. That's my scissor tool, and I'm going to chop away. And I don't need this piece. And then I'm going to select with the white arrow 2 points. And the way you do that is you click on one, and then you hold Shift, and you click on the other. Then you can hit Command J, and you'll join those 2 points. So I've got something good here except for this bump, but we'll fix that in a second. And also we're going to have a bump here, aren't we? So maybe I'll move that up, and maybe I'll move this one up too. And now if I use Command Y, I can get this exactly where it needs to be. I can even go over that point, hit the letter P, Command 3, hide it, and then I know right where to put that, and I can get rid of this bump. Now if I hit Command Option 3, aha, there it comes back, and I bet the average eyeball is not going to recognize any problems with that. Okay, so there we go. We've got half of it basically done. So I'm going to hit the letter, select those pieces, hit the letter D, default fill and stroke. I'm going to merge. Now it's all one shape. I'm going to turn the stroke to red. And then I'm going to hit the letter O for my, it's called flip. Let's see what it's called. All right, it's not telling me what it's called, but let's just say it's the flip tool. That's what I call it. And so I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to say right on this line, and then I hit, with Option held down, I click on it once, and I'll say copy vertically. And that is a vertical axis. It's, obviously an engineer set this up. All right, so there's that. That's looking good. Now I just need to join these 2 parts together. Again, I'm going to hit the letter D, and then I'm going to merge. Okay, then I'll change my stroke again to red. And eventually, my stroke, I'm going to, let's pull it out here. Show the options, please. I will want to determine what this should be in pixels, but yeah. Okay, so I'm making an error. I should be working in pixels, but generally pixels and points in Illustrator are in harmony. So let's just say it's 3 pixels or whatever. Okay, 4. One thing I did like about this is the split of those. So let's do that real quick. I take this and do that. Now in this case, instead of merging, I'm going to use the divide tool. And then I'm going to get rid of this chunk that I don't need anymore. And I'll grab just these two. And they had them far away. I'm using the keyboard arrows to move that up or down. And the increments about how fast it moves up or down is set through Command K. That's your preferences. So right there, my increment is really small. We'll try it that way, and you could see that it would move much faster. All right. At this point, it's a good thing to see what it's like. And does it look like a phone? And yeah, I guess we're generally looking like a phone. I don't know if my split is that helpful. I think I might have to make it solid to make more sense of it. So here we go. I will select this and flip the colors, which would make these guys need to be a lot closer together, and thus making it look more like a phone. Okay, the other thing, well, it's debatable. Okay, I also noticed on the other rendering that the parts of the phone, in this one they're all the same. This one, they stick out just a little farther. Okay, so let's get a little tricky. This guy, I'm going to lock it because I don't want it to move, but I want it to be there. So Command 2. Now with the white arrow, I'm going to select 1, 2, 3 points. The points only on the left. I'm trying to make it wider. Tool you may not know about is Command-Shift-M. That's the move tool. It shows you a preview of whatever last move you made. And so in this case, I think it's minus point, I'm going to guess 0.1, tab 0, tab. Okay, so that would be it, but it's too far. So I'm going to try 0, 1. Okay, I'll try 0, 1, 5. Okay, I'm satisfied with that. And I'll say okay. Obviously, this one is going to move the same distance. Oh, there's some old elements there that need to be deleted. Okay. And I'll hit Command-Shift-M again and say okay. Now, obviously, I need to move this side, but I need to move both of these the opposite. So Command-Shift-M, but this time I just subtract the minus and then hit Enter. And now it's all moved in the same amount. And so now, okay, very subtle, but it looks a little more like a phone, arguably. Okay, so at that point, I would unlock my other piece, and then I would grab this, and then I'd move it down. And notice I made a duplicate. How you do that is you grab it, then you hold down Option, and that makes a duplicate. Then you hit the letter R for rotate. Click once, rotating, and there is my phone at an angle. Now, none of your other icons have an angle. That's why I kept this original. You may want to just rotate and hold Shift, and if you do, then you rotate at 45 degrees or 90, 45 or 90. So in this case, maybe you want a phone like that, if it might be in more harmony with the rest, as long as it's recognizable. And but it seems like most icons show the phone at some kind of weird angle. Maybe that's the way we used to, when these phones existed, held them at an angle matching our ear and our mouth. But whatever. Okay, so there you go. That's how I'd handle the phone. Now I'm going to show you how I'd handle the gear. So I'm going to make another layer. Maybe I'll even name this gear. And the first thing I want to do, again, establish the center point. And this time I'm just going to guess. It looks like it's roughly right there, and then roughly right about there. The center to this is probably the most important element because it's all symmetrical and everything's built right around the center point. For example, I'm going to start with the inner circle of the gear. So I'll click, and there we go. And maybe I'll make a second one. Well, the second one I should make is really that edge right there. The rest of the edges can be made with another thing. Okay, now to make sure we can see them, I make them different colors. And that's a horrible eye color combo. Okay, there we go. So I'll make them different colors. I'll even drop the stroke. And now I want to make sure that they're perfectly aligned. So I'll use the align tool. I'll go center vertically, center horizontally, and then I'm going to see if they're lined up to my center point grid. So I'll hit the letter S. That will show me right where they are. I'll use my keyboard increments to move them. I see that it's too much, so I'll hit Command K, and I'll say 0.001. And then I can move it over, move it up, maybe just a little bit smaller, 0.0001. And then I get really fancy, and I'm on the money, right? Oh, looks, well, I guess it depends on how close I look at it. And there we go. Okay. So now I've got those gears started. I'm going to hide these pieces now. They're kind of in my way. And now I'm going to make this top thing. Peg, if you will. So letter M, drawing, moving this outward, holding shift when I do, by the way, and then clicking this single point and hitting Command Shift M, and then saying, instead of minus, I want that much. And that way they've moved the same distance. And now I'll hit the letter S and zoom in and make sure that it's right on the center. And then that way everything is aligned to this center grid. Now let's back up. Let's unhide those elements. Maybe lock them for the moment. And maybe change this color so you can see what it is. Okay, now I'm going to rotate and duplicate this. This is one of my favorite parts, or favorite tools. So I know that I need to rotate and duplicate this thing right from the center. So I hit the letter R, I hold Option, and then I click right on the crosshairs. And now, if I did 90 degrees, it would go from here to this side. So I need to go half of that. So I need to go 45. So 45, and I need to copy, not just move. Now let's look at it. See what it did? It did that. Now, probably my favorite command in all of Illustrator is Command D, which is repeat last command. So I just go D, 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 and voila, I've got my gear. And now let me just get this all unified. I'm going to remove the red circle, Command X. I'm going to grab everything that's still there and hit D for default fill and stroke. Then I will merge it all together as one shape. I will turn it into a red solid. Then I'm going to Command F, paste the circle right where it came from. Command F, that's instead of Command V, which pastes wherever it wants to, Command F puts it right where it used to be. And then I will grab both and hit Command 8. That means make it a compound path. If you don't know what a compound path is, I want you to look at the lowercase e, and then I'm going to outline that. You can see that this has two paths, an inner path and an outer path. And when they're working together and overlapped, it creates a hole. That's all we did here, and that's Command 8. Command Option 8, I believe. Oh, Command Option Shift 8 undoes it. All right. Okay, so there you go. That's how I would go about making a gear icon and a phone icon. I hope you found that helpful. If you have some more questions after watching this, let me know and I'll make you another video. All right. Thank you so much for your time.